I just want to, for the people and the young, we do have young listeners to understand your, at the time before you took the break, who was Marsha Warfield? Because I know who you are, but I want to hear from you, like the history of the stand up, the shows that you did, Richard Pryor. Give us a little bit of that.
I started in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. And at that time, open mics, comedy clubs, all those things were relatively new. We were we were making the transition from the cabaret era where people worked in supper clubs and that sort of thing. And there weren't so many concerts, comedy concerts especially. If you were a stand-up, you wanted to find a singer that would take you on the road with them and be an opening act. You were a perpetual opening act. And I think it was Richard Pryor who flipped the script. And when he was doing one of his albums, he was the headliner, of course, of a concert, but he had Patti LaBelle open for him. That was huge because to that point, I had not heard of that happening. And so the comedy clubs, the Tonight Show had moved to Los Angeles from New York. New York had been the mecca and the hub. But with the Tonight Show moving and the Comedy Store blowing up, it moved to Los Angeles. So I did stand up in Chicago for a couple of years. And then I moved to Los Angeles. I was 22 years old and I was by myself. I had $150 and a round trip ticket and 2 week stay at the Continental Hyatt House.
Uh oh.
My
What?
mother had given it to me for my birthday. It was my birthday, March
Mm,
5th, 1976.
wow. Good for
And
mom.
I went to the Comedy Store the first night I was in town, and the guy at the door was this nice looking black guy, nice little fro, and he had on tennis shorts. And back then, everybody was tying their sweaters around their
Preppy.
neck like some kind of preppy something.
Yeah.
But then when I said I approached him, he was working the door, and I said I told him my name, and asked him if I could come in. He said, "Oh yeah, baby, you can come on in. There's no big thing." I'm like with this voice, "There's a brother. I know this language here," and he's looking all Beverly Hills, and it was John Witherspoon.
Shut up.
And
Wow.
from that point on, John had a nice butt. But anyway, nice
I
legs,
did
nice
not
butt.
know that.
Everybody was playing tennis back then. And he
Okay.
and Shirley Hemphill were tennis partners and big tennis enthusiasts. And so John told me that he gave me drink tickets. And I think at that time the Comedy Store served hamburgers. And he said, just we hang out in the back and you can watch the show and I'll introduce you to the comedians as they came out. And he did. And that was the first night I went, and that was a Saturday, and or Friday or Saturday, and Monday open mic night I went on and got passed over. They told me to call in for spots, and I didn't see it as like this big career boost thing. I was like, okay, this is just a way to get some stage time, and so I started calling in and getting spots. But I didn't get a lot. I didn't get
Mm,
a lot until I started volunteering to
wow.
follow whoever was the hard to follow comic. And at that time, nobody was harder to follow than Richard Pryor, and nobody wanted to follow him. Being from Chicago, and we think we're gangsters and everything. I was like, I don't care who's on stage. I'll follow anybody. He's gone. Uh,
Okay.
it's my turn now. And so I did. And that's how I got stage time and how I got the Tonight, not the Tonight Show, the Richard Pryor show. He got the series not long after that. That
Right.
was in 77. And Paul Mooney, who I had met the first night I got to town, Mr. Paul
Yeah,
Mooney.
that voice,
Yes.
that
Yes.
voice.
And he said, "Well, we need an ensemble." He said, "But y'all can do it. These guys here, they can do it as well as, anybody else. And so he booked us all out at a Comedy Store. Me, uh, well, Tim Reid was working at the time, but Tim Reid and Robin Williams was new in town. I think it was one of the first things Robin did. That and a movie called Can I Do It Till I Need Glasses. He and I were both in Can I Do It Till I Need Glasses. And we both played sperm. And then, uh, what else did I do? They opened a club in Newport Beach not long after that, and I started going down there. I talked my way into a car. I didn't know how to drive, and I didn't have any money or anything, but I got a check for some gig, and I went to a dealer. They were having a sale, and I bought a brand new Nova.
Oh,
Chevy Nova.
wow. Look at you.
And I drove it off the lot. Had no idea how to drive. I They said, "Do you have a license?" I had a state ID, and I said, "It's coming. It'll be here." So I bought the car, and that's how I taught myself how to drive. I'd get up at 2, 3 in the morning, and get on the freeway and just go somewhere, and then turn around and come back.
Well, can I
That's
ask you a question, Marsha? And Lonnie's going to say no because she always tells me no when I try to ask a question. But I ask it anyway. I'm an LA girl, but I'm always just impressed by people who come out here because it's not an easy city to come to and kind of make your way. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to find your crew in order to kind of navigate this city. And growing up here was easier for me because my family's here. But how did you find your crew and how did you find your way in this city, which is so vast and so spread out? And finding a way to drive and all that.
I was too stupid to be scared.
Yeah, that's the way
I
to
had
do it.
told my mother that I was going to hitchhike to Los Angeles, and she said, "You can't." But kids were hitchhiking to the West Coast. It was either San Francisco or Los Angeles, and living on the street if they had to. So I happened to meet a comedian named Levi Taylor, and Levi said he was getting married. Now he had a studio apartment. He said, and he was getting married, and so if I didn't mind sleeping on a twin mattress on the floor because he had one twin bed, and so he took the box spring, and I took the mattress, and I slept on the floor in this one room apartment, and all the comedians would come over and hang out at that place. And that's how I met all the young black comedians. And it was very fraternal. There was he never tried anything. It was no romance, no nothing. And I got to meet those guys and all the comics at the Comedy Store. The only other women were Shirley Hemphill, and then she got what's happening. And
Yeah.
so she wasn't coming around as much. Lotus Weinstock, Sandra Bernhardt.
Sandra, yeah.
There were two black women, one named Roberta Perrell and one named Brenda Verrett. And but they wanted to be actresses. I wanted to do stand-up. And so I just kept going. I just refused to quit. And that's how I ended up getting, after the Richard Pryor show, I got a pilot called That Thing on ABC. And when I got the pilot, it was for, they were saying, it could go to a series and
Right.
it did, blah, blah, blah. Well, I didn't have an agent. So I called ICM. And I said, I got this pilot and I don't have an agent. They said, you got a pilot and you don't have an agent? I said, yes, I have a pilot and I don't have an agent.
They're like, we'll take 10% of your money. Thank
And
you.
they said, hold on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they sent me through, 7 different people. And finally this guy came on and said, hi, you got a pilot and you don't have an agent. Let's talk. And that's how I got signed with ICM.